Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. We have an update with the ongoing Iliad, the long story that doesn't end, the marathon of sorts between Bachelor Clayton and podcaster Laura Owens. Laura Owens, public figure, podcaster, TEDx speaker. She had an article or an excerpt in the Chicken Soup for the Soul, which has since been removed, although I think they're going bankrupt anyway. Chicken Soup for the Soul is, but maybe she's not too far behind. Well, the podcasting studio in Scottsdale, Arizona, dunks on Laura in the driest way possible, and nothing makes me more dry than covering this story, I'll tell you that much. There is nothing exciting about this. But, hey, there's a niche we live in where we're covering the ins and outs of Clayton's struggles. We received a thank you from a victim yesterday for continued coverage. So we know that the barometer is pointed in the right direction. In that, we what story's big and what story's small with regard to Laura Owens, it's really not for us to say. This one's interesting. Podcast studio dunking on Laura. How did they dunk on her? Well, they made a video where they shared how to sync your audio and your video in a podcast. So it's the most subtle jab at someone you could make because they're killing with kindness and education. I'm going to share exactly what they had to say in a second. If you want to follow a professional podcast, you can scan that QR code right there. I'll tell you what, I don't have to sync my audio. It goes right through the soundboard, baby. I got good audio. You know who's got great audio? My son does, because one of you amazing people bought him this baby microphone. Check that out. Baby microphone. You hit that button right there, and then it plays, it flashes. And here's what I learned the other day. I didn't realize this. See, it makes that noise, right? But I didn't realize this. It actually has a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rush Hour Podcast. Are you ready to rumble? Doesn't it sound like you're ordering a beverage? I'd like to get 2 Filet-O-Fish and a large diet soda. Is your McFlurry machine working? Okay, I probably lost some of you guys there, but either way, if my baby can podcast better than her. Okay. Anyway, who knows? Hit the like button. All right. No, my baby can't speak. His first word's going to be join the patreon.com/Dave Neal. So I can get, braces when I'm older. All right. So that's where you can scan my podcast, but the podcast studio in question is this one. Now, how did this good-looking batch of people get involved in the drama of Laura Owens? Well, if you haven't been around for a bit, I'll tell you. PS Creative and Studios hosted Laura Owens, and basically, you know what? You can do what Dear Shandy does, our good pal Charlene Joint. What she does is she actually gets all of her news just from my thumbnails. So the studio had Laura there. Clearly, they got some comments from people being like, how are you going to have her there? People are allowed to leave comments, and they're allowed to not respond to them. And then PS Studios responded with Justice for Clayton, saying, PS Studios is a local small business here in Scottsdale and has politely expressed their request to not be involved in this matter. To support them, we have removed Instagram stories referencing them. So all they ever said publicly was, we don't want to be involved in this matter whatsoever. We don't want to work with Laura. They never even said her name. None of that. Just like I never said her name. And you know what? That's not good enough. You don't say her name, they're still going to come after you with a large defamation lawsuit, or at least threats to do so. All right. So anyhow, my next update. Oh, that was actually one for the end. My next update was to show that the studio destroyed her attorney. Laura Owens' attorney, essentially working for free. So what I did here was, and again, I'll share with you in a second what the studio has said recently, but I want to catch you guys all up. What I shared here was I used what was the closest emoji I could find to represent the foolishness of this story. But we have Laura and her lawyer, who we're so affectionately referring to as Baby Chingy. So you have Baby Chingy, attorney at law, and Laura here, and of all the other iterations of Laura right there. And they did this podcast. It's perfectly fine. The sound was fine. But then what happened was Baby Chingy came out, and maybe I should do it with this one. Baby Chingy came out and said, Laura asked me to share this short clip from our recent podcast, Gone Wrong. The audio was so bad, he says. So he says it was so bad it would have been painful to listen to for over 2+ hours. Let me tell you something. I'm going to be quite honest. If I did an episode where I spoke through this microphone the whole time, I could make it interesting enough for people to listen. If something's interesting, people will listen. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue this whole entire episode. No, I won't do that to you. I won't do it. So then what happens? How is the studio repaid for their kindness? Well, Laura files with the Better Business Bureau and emails a department of the district attorney or attorney general, whoever it was, claiming that they didn't provide her the files she needed. So what does the studio do? They respond and file a bar complaint against her attorney. Nothing's going to come of that. Why? Because as far as we've learned, the Arizona bar doesn't care about anything other than protecting its own. It's kind of like when you go to an HR department at the place you work. It's like, sorry, you don't pay the HR department's bills. The boss man does. So they're going to do whatever the hell they can to make sure that the company is protected. And that's exactly what we've seen it go here. So they say the studio's conduct has been absolutely shocking and disgraceful, but that's just how justice for Clayton works. He wants the studio to issue an apology. They're the ones who started this. Laura and I said nothing about them until the studio started attacking Laura. Oh, baby Chinky's protecting Laura. She's only a young 34. She can't handle her own fights. Or whatever the hell her age is. So anyway, yesterday we share receipts, which I, hand wrote right here because I actually didn't have the actual receipts because they were digital. So I hand wrote them because, I'm not one to mess around. This was actually a check for $22 from Disney because I, was in a movie. All right. So anyhow, boy, it pays to act. So anyhow, here you are. And I shared the proof of the lies, which is that she irrefutably sent a fake ultrasound to Greg Gillespie. She still says she doesn't do it. She addressed the Fiverr logo, says it wasn't her. And Baby Chinky sticks by her because either A, he's the worst lawyer of all time. That's my opinion. It could be true. I don't know. And my evidence would be that he hasn't won one damn thing for her since he got involved. He's almost like a guy that has like a lot of gas who's trying to not stink up a room. Like no matter what he does, he's crop dusting the room with his own stank when it comes to this case. Because the only reason we found the Fiverr logo was because of his egregious behavior in the first place. The only reason we know she faked medical documents from a level of 102 HCG to a level of 140,000 is because I dug through all the BS she sent me. Why did I dig through it? Because he threatened me with an $85 million lawsuit. And what I learned about myself is when you're threatened with an $85 million lawsuit, you get off your ass and you go, all right, fine, I guess I'll prove my case. And then you crack your neck and then you just dunk on people. Well, the studio has done the same. Let's play the clip. So Laura says, hey, the studio gave me bad audio. I can't use this. She files all these complaints. The studio says, we gave you the good audio. In person, we have an audio recording of us giving you the good audio. What they did was, let me find a hard drive. She had her hard drive here. They handed her, boop, boop. They dropped it right into it. It did its little binary thing. And then all of a sudden, she goes, but Baby Chinky, it doesn't work. And she plays dumb. So, is she dumb? Is she playing dumb? Or maybe it's a little bit of both. Well, the podcast studio says, we gave it to you, and it's very easy to sync audio. Now, as I've showed you guys this already, and I'll show you again, you can literally, here's a vlog that I'm shooting here because I have a good work ethic and I like to make content. But here's a vlog here. You have your video right here, your audio down here. You can click the two, control right click, and then you just go this, and you just hit synchronize. Guys, I just did it in less than a second. But, of course, here's the podcast studio showing you mastering a podcast from raw files. Now, again, they're showing this to dunk on Laura. They're doing it in the nicest way possible. Have a listen.
Recently, it's come to our attention, not everyone knows how to put a podcast together when they get their raw files. There's going to be a couple of things that you have when you record your cameras and your microphones. Your cameras are usually going to have a tiny microphone on top of them just so that there's a reference point, kind of like your cell phone. But it's not going to sound as good as your cell phone because these cameras aren't built to record audio. That is why we have external recorders. And that's why you'll see studios with microphones like this wired up to fancy little boxes somewhere, because those boxes have technology that can make the audio sound amazing and capture A lot. After you get those files, you're going to put them inside of your video editor. And inside of your video editor, you're going to have to do three main things. You need to align your tracks together. Number two, you need to master your audio. You can do that with some effects plugins or just iMovie, hit auto. Number three, you need to make it look good. Every camera looks different. Our cameras are set so that we can adjust them the way that we want them. And that's usually a common thing, no matter where you go. Then you got to show, and then you can click export. But that's all you have to do when you get these files. You got to focus on the main.
By the way, does this guy not have great style? What shirt is he wearing? Am I wearing the same shirt as him? Boy, we could be brothers.
Things. Align the audio and the video files together. You got to make sure the audio sounds good.
And by the way, that's why there's that device, the clapper. You guys know the clapper? It's a large slate. It's called the slate. And the way it works, and I know this might be elementary here, but some of us don't know how to do this, apparently. It's a large clapper, and it goes like this, and it makes a noise. And when that noise is made, what happens is you're able to see that peak on different types of audio. So this isn't synced right here, but if you look at the sound waves, you can easily know that this one right here will or will not line up based on a large, spike right there. So you can do it manually, or you can do it through the actual automated system. If you have a strong, you don't even need to clap. Like, it's going to know your audio, but if you do clap, then it's a lot easier to see visually.
Good with a few plugins, really simple. And then lastly, you just need to make sure you look good. You know those filters that you have on your phone that you adjust? That also exists inside of a video editor. Then from there, you can
I can't tell if he's dunking on Laura's overly photoshopped face. I don't think so.
go on and tweak things, make it sound richer. You can make the picture brighter. You can adjust the contrast. And that's how you put a podcast together. There are a couple of steps involved, but those are the very basics.
Love it. So again, just, fun stuff that they're doing here to show, they always say the best way to go viral online, if you're trying to go viral, is to give something. So don't take and say, oh, everyone follow me. Give people a reason to follow you. Give them entertainment. Give them information. And they do a great job right here. Justice for Clayton says, classy, professional, highly recommend this studio for your podcast needs. Now, I got to tell you, Justice for Clayton Official is crushing it on their Instagram stories. Sarah finding out that her family is broke after they lied and convinced her and Christian to sign 2 HELOC loans for $500K in a year. I guess this is information that's publicly available that Laura's sister signed some loans that might be predatory. I'm not an expert on it, but I guess it's not the type of loan you would sign if money's flowing. Sarah in 2025, her criminal sister, her HELOC loans, and her GAFs about what San Francisco people think about her. Gives a fuck. Okay. POV, people in Justice for Clayton Reddit meeting up in real life. So just a video of them. This is from Step Brothers, the movie. Classic. Sarah, realizing a lifetime of her family cover-ups got her nothing but $500,000 HELOC loan debt. When Laura thought she'd be rich and famous by now, but not even Pornhub called. Yikes. When Uncle Joe won't work for free, the fam's broke and Laura's stuck with a free public defender. Laura realizing her public defender won't do free PR or fight JFC on Twitter. When Laura can't threaten guys with unlimited funds anymore. And then, of course, they shared that in case anyone out there needs to know how to sync audio and video. Oh, very crazy stuff. Funny stuff. So, look, I mean, this is First Amendment rights. So you're right. Someone's just sharing and mocking. I got to say, mockery goes pretty far. You hate to get other people involved, like Sarah, her sister, and whoever. But like, at some point, it's like, what would you rather have happen? These men continue to lose out on jobs because they have restraining orders against them, which is the case. I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the millions of dollars. In today's world, if Mike lost out on a job 4 years ago that would initially pay a 6-figure salary, do you know how much money in the trajectory he could go working in the tech field? So I wouldn't be surprised if there's millions lost now and in the future. That's time and money he'll never get back. That's a perishable item. So what would you rather do? Shame people, mock people into doing the right things, or just let the results of fraud continue to play out? Which, of course, the fraud being her medical fraud she committed on Mike by sending all of the ovarian cancer stuff and all of the coercion that she did and to keep him in a relationship and faking things, plus the defamation she did by faking DV with him when he has clear evidence that just didn't happen. What side would you want to be on? I'll tell you what, I'm on the side of continue to mock these people if they're going to continue to not speak up. Like Laura's sister could absolutely, and people say, well, she's a young mom and she's not involved and whatever. Well, they're still, what are you talking about? Like, you're complicit if you're not putting the kibosh on the chaos. Studio dunks on Laura. That's going to be it for us. We'll be back this afternoon for another episode of the Rush Hour Podcast. See you later, baby Jingy.